Hello guys, welcome to this episode 29 of the series of tutorials on creating the web API and consuming it with MVC in ASP.NET Core 3.1. I shall continue to upload one episode every day and I shall walk through creating the GetCustomerAction methods, both get and post of the customer controller in this lecture. Since these episodes and the code base are built in continuation from the previous ones, I request you to go through them before viewing this one. There are plenty of useful takeaways if you view the tutorials through to the end. Finally, a request to subscribe to the channel and share it with like-minded. So by the end of this lecture, we shall be able to create the GetCustomerHTTP getAction method to return an empty view and also GetCustomerHTTP post version or post action method to accept a customer ID as a parameter and return a customer object as a response from the web API if such a customer exists with the ID. So let's flip over to Visual Studio for action. Now back to the Visual Studio, and first of all I'll write the HTTP get action method with HTTP get. So HTTP get and public, it will return a view result type. So view result object, and I will name it get customer. And it is parameterless. It will not accept any parameter. It will just return a view, customer view, get customer view, return view, and that's it. And if I forget to write HTTP get, that's fine, because by default the HTTP verb is HTTP get, but it's always a good practice to use the HTTP verb explicitly. Now next is our HTTP post. HTTP, select the post, and I'll copy this line because I will name the action method exactly the same with a different overload. So with an ID. Okay, so I will just give it an integer ID as a parameter, and then the rest of the body. Now the main reason to name the action method the same as the HTTP get, the post action method to be named as the same, so that when it comes to view, we can use the same view with a minor modification, so that when the user is shown a form, he can submit the form with a customer ID and get the result back on the same form rather than to be redirected to another form. Okay, that makes the viewer experience much better. Alright, so having said that, I will start writing the code, and for this I will actually copy the code from the top and then change the bits. So I think this is a good approach because it saves a lot of time typing. Alright, so here there is a difference though, that I don't need any list of customer, but I need just a single customer. So change the bits and make it customer, and then new customer, right, and then this part is very similar. Now the first thing that you need to again change is that, if you look into the squiggly lines, I have done it intentionally. It says that the await operator can only be used within an async method. Okay, consider marking this method with the async. So I actually wanted to show you that this is the kind of error that you might get if you forget to make this an async method and yet to use the await. So async task, and this will be an iAction result type task and an iAction result, and then it takes care of this await keyword. All right, because we had made it async and it returns a task with of generic type I action result. Okay, of type, basically type I action result, not a generic type. So now, having written this part, I'll have to make another change. So I'll have to append, I have to make use of this ID. Okay, so I'll just append this ID at the end and put a front slash so that it can be concatenated, and then save it. And instead of this customer list, I will make it customer. All right, and then return view this customer. And that's basically done. The only one thing left is that I have actually to make this also a customer object rather than a list. Right, this is expected written. So this is just a customer that is getting returned instead of a list of customer in the index action method. And if I build this application now, Control Shift B, it should be okay if there's no broken piece. So it's always a good idea, good practice to build it when you have achieved some milestone. Now you can see the build succeeded. So in this lecture, we have basically written the GetCustomerAction methods, one of HTTP GET type, another of POST type, both with the same name, so that we can actually do with one view, so that when you are given a form, when a user is given a form and if he submits with a valid customer ID, he will get a customer returned back on the same form, and if the customer doesn't exist, it will accordingly tell him. So see you in the next lecture.